Good morning, Leslie.
Good morning, Michael. Hi, Gina.
Good
and
morning.
Colleen.
Hello, good morning.
You're out in the Philadelphia area, are you not?
I am. So I am rooting for the team from Pennsylvania. Are you?
I understand. It's good to have a horse in the race, and not just be. For me, I'm going to be eating some guacamole and watching the commercials.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a big football fan, and I would have preferred the Philadelphia team to be in there, but
Yeah,
they didn't get in there. Then the Pittsburgh team is good.
they had a pretty good run this year.
Yeah, they did.
Leslie, we're going to be doing some interesting things with you each week on our roundtable. We are going to be soliciting the questions of the week on all matters of relationship, of which you are an expert. And for people who wish to post their questions to us, they can do it on Michael and Gina on Facebook, on a Facebook page called Michael and Gina, or you can Twitter, believe it or not, Michael and Gina.
You can tweet.
Tweet. What did I say?
You can Twitter.
Oh, boy.
You can go to Twitter.
You can tweet
and send
on
us a tweet.
Twitter.
Yes, that's right.
Are you telling me I used the wrong tense of Twitter?
And
How do you conjugate that verb?
We digress.
That would be interesting. So we do have some questions for you this week, and I'd like to start out with, I think, a terrific one. It comes from, believe it or not, Orange County, California, from Karen, who asks, what three things, and I won't hold you to three, if there's one or two, that would be helpful too. What three things can you do today to strengthen your marriage?
That's a really, really good question. And let me give a couple things. One is, the first thing that you can do is you can be teachable. I think that so often we enter marriage with a suitcase full of baggage from our family of origin, and we think that that's normal. And so I think that if you're teachable, you allow your spouse to teach you that maybe your way isn't the only way or isn't the only right way. And when we're not teachable, it causes a lot of conflict because we are fighting constantly for our way, and we think our way is the only way. And so I think being teachable, just humbling ourselves and saying, you know what, I might not be right, I might not know everything about everything. And so when we're teachable, we're willing to listen.
Oh, that's so hard.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard, but it helps our marriage. What would be different if we would just listen to our spouse and let them express themselves instead of interrupting or over-talking or saying they're wrong or ridiculous? If we just listened and thought maybe they might have something to teach us. Maybe God's put them in our life not just to bless us and meet our felt needs, but also to teach us something about life or about ourselves that we need to know, and to really have that humility of attitude that we're willing to be teachable. I think if we can begin to adopt that in our marriage, and I talk about that in some of the seminars I do, I think we can really improve communication, improve our relationship conflict by just stopping and being willing to be the listener, to be the one taught.
My husband's staring at me across the room right now,
No.
like with this look on his face, like, yes, are you listening to this, dear?
No, that's not true.
Yeah, I'm getting the vibe right across the room. But I love it, though. It is true. It really is. And I've never thought of it in that context. I've always heard, be a good listener, give your spouse that opportunity to speak to you. But to be teachable is even a step further, and I love that. And in your book that's called How to Act Right When Your Spouse Acts Wrong, you spend some time talking about how our spouse's wrongs expose the baggage from our past. So those bad habits that we've created, sometimes what our spouse does across the room from us, say in a radio studio. No, just kidding. But really, I think that's it's in the same vein. I mean, how sometimes when I'm not acting appropriate as a wife, I'm being cranky or whatever I'm doing, some of the stuff that the way that he's responded to those types of things in the past come out.
Absolutely. And I think, when I got married, and I talk about this, I thought that I was this really very kind, loving, forgiving, wonderful person. And my husband had a few things to teach me, not directly. He didn't say, you're not that, but by my responses to some of the things that he did, I began to see that I wasn't.
Yeah, right.
And, that was.
Don't you hate that? I hate that. My children do that to me, too. They show me all the stuff I hate about myself.
Absolutely. So that would be the first thing. The second thing that I think would make an immediate improvement in any relationship is if you could confess your own wrongdoing. We have a hard time saying, you know what, I was wrong. I was wrong. Would you please forgive me? And if we could do that, if we could humble ourselves and say, you know what, I didn't say that right. I know I had a bad tone or a bad attitude or I lied or whatever it was. instead of the other person having to drag it out of us or beat it out of us, or instead of making excuses or blaming the other person, it's your fault that I did this. If you wouldn't have acted this way, I wouldn't have done this. If we could just take responsibility for our own stuff, even if someone provoked us, if we could just take responsibility for our own stuff and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm not mature enough to handle that kind of provocation without sitting against you. Whatever it is, if we can take that responsibility, own it, and confess it, that can go miles. I don't find a lot of people ending relationships because of sin and brokenness. I find a lot of people ending relationships because of their refusal, their blindness to take responsibility for their sin and brokenness.
These are hard, Leslie. I thought you were just going to say maybe go get some chocolates or flowers. These are hard.
I am a little hard, aren't I?
These are hard tips.
Yes, these are hard tips. But I think these are tips that really make a difference long term in the relationship. I think we can put icing on a rotten cake, and it might taste better for a moment, but it really is still rotten. I think we really need to fix some of the foundational elements of relationships, and these are some of the things we can do: is be teachable, confess our wrongdoing, and the third thing is to think of ways we can serve our family or serve people in our life that we love without looking for what's in it for us or what we're going to get out of it.
That's true of every relationship in your life.
Yes, and when you do that and you're not keeping score, the relationship improves.
That is the key phrase. Let's not keep score.
Yeah.
And we have to let that be the last word, but really great stuff. And each week we're going to be having you answer a question or questions that our listeners post for us, and we really appreciate you joining the Roundtable, and we're going to be talking with you hopefully next Saturday.
I would love to.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Leslie.